Everybody, welcome back to the Blockware Intelligence Podcast. Hope you're all doing well. Before we get into the show, let me tell you a little bit about our sponsor, FTX US. FTX US, one of the largest crypto companies in the United States, is the safest, most regulated way to buy and sell Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other digital assets. With FTX, you can trade crypto with up to 85% lower fees than top competitors. There are no fixed minimum fees, no ACH transaction fees, and no withdrawal fees. FTX has also recently announced their stocks beta rolling out to US customers to enable crypto, stocks, and NFT trading in one interface. This includes hundreds of US exchange-listed securities, including common stocks and ETFs, and an integrated experience within the existing FTX US cryptocurrency trading application. Use promo code Blockware1 or go to ftx.blockwareintelligence.com to earn free crypto on every trade over $10. Again, that's Blockware1 or go to ftx.blockwareintelligence.com to get started today. Now let's get into the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Blockware Intelligence Podcast. Today I have a very special guest, one of my best friends in the space, my good friend Jason from Telegram. Jason, thank you so much for coming on. You're not our first kind of synonymous guest, but definitely probably won't be our last. How are you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Can't complain, man. It's not a bad day. I'm enjoying the pump while we got it.
For sure, man. It's been a good interesting week or two the last couple of weeks. Definitely some good price action, good recoveries on some price structures for sure.
Yeah, totally. Jason, before we get into your background, how did we meet? I don't honestly remember. It might have been through Twitter or something.
That's a good question. I want to say it was something like that. I might have messaged you, or we might have met in Telegram at some point in one of these channels. Because I know yeah, that's a good question. It was probably like some sort of DM, and then you're like, oh, like message me on Telegram, I think. Something along those lines.
Yeah, something like that. But I guess just to give listeners context, Jason and I basically send each other charts back and forth all day and random ideas, as well as a bunch of random GIFs and memes as well. So we've gotten pretty close, I would say, over the last year or so, and Jason's also taught me a lot. So I'm sure you guys will get a lot of value out of this as well. I think we could first start with just giving a open-ended kind of high-level overview of what you did before getting into crypto and what you do now.
Yeah, for sure. So, I was the, stereotypical American boy, I guess, went to high school, in Southern California, and then went to college there. Went to college for film and media studies, and I almost minored in computer science, but after taking some computer science courses in high school and college, I realized I don't really need to do this. And then, with my specific background, I got an internship at Blizzard Entertainment in their cinematics division. So for anyone not familiar, they make like StarCraft, World of Warcraft, Diablo, things like that. And so I worked in their cinematics team for about, I think, 3, almost 4 years, maybe, somewhere in there. And for anyone that also doesn't understand what that is, it's basically imagine it like a little Pixar, like a mini Pixar inside of Blizzard's game studio. So all these theatrical cinematic trailers and in-game pre-rendered CG movies, that's what I worked on. So I was an associate producer, or I started as a PA, worked my way up to associate producer, basically, I touched every part of the pipeline. So that was really cool being able to work with it's extremely world-class artists and engineers. I basically was, really lucky to be able to work in the midst of some of these people, because it taught me, both, the artistic production process as well as the technical production process for technical oriented artistry. After that, I kind of meandered around and, worked at, companies here and there in the game and VFX space. And then after a while, I was like, you know what, I'm going to become an engineer. So I went to Silicon Valley in San Francisco, and essentially did one of those fast-paced boot camps, and then started working at some startups, and then became a software engineer working at a few startups, One was an Alibaba funded deep search, mobile deep search startup that is now defunct. Another that is doing really well these days is called Shippo. Founders are Laura Bareins Wu and Simon Cruz. Go Shippo. And got experience there. It was really cool. Met a whole bunch of cool talent people in the San Francisco engineering space. And then, ended up starting a fund, Spacewell Capital, as co-founder, co-GP, chief investment officer, head trader, etc. And that's basically served as like a personal fund over the last almost 5 years now. With our performance history, we were able to raise a fund too. And then during that time, I was also co-founder of a startup called Fortunify. Basically deals with real world asset lending and borrowing, using DeFi liquidity to fund real world assets like securities, REITs, revenue based financing loans, things like that. And most recently, it secured a seed round last year, and it's chugging along really nicely. I'm no longer a part of the startup, however, it's doing really well, and I'm really excited to see what it does. And yeah, so there's
When
kind
did
of like a
you
high
were
level.
you trading before you got into crypto, or did you just start spinning up your kind of trading experience as you kind of went with it?
Was I trading before I got into crypto? No, not really. I really only started learning how to trade crypto actively in like mid to late 2016. So, and then like really heavily in early 2017, because I met a whole bunch of like Telegram traders that really focused on altcoins. And that's really where I learned to trade.
Gotcha. Jason, I guess like 10,000 foot view, very open-ended question here. Like, why do you believe in crypto?
Mm.
And I guess what do you, what are outside of Bitcoin, which, I think is pretty straightforward, what its use case is, like, how do you foresee the rest of the space in terms of different use cases that could be applicable moving forward?
Okay, so it seems like that's a kind of like a two-part question. So let's
Yes.
address the first part. Why do I believe in crypto? Well, I initially my first experience in crypto was in like essentially, December 2010, early 2011, where my ex-college roommate messaged me about, Bitcoin and linked me to the Bitcoin Talk forums. And you know, why do I believe in crypto? Well, at first I didn't. I thought it was a scam. I thought it was total, e-gold, malarkey. And then after spending about 2 to 3 months, reading these forums and like really doing due diligence on what proof of work was, what mining was, and this whole, apparatus and ecosystem of incentives, just within one chain, Bitcoin, it became very obvious that there's actual like pure raw fundamentals, at least with Bitcoin. And after getting experience being a miner in the GPU phase of Bitcoin mining, uh, it just made sense from a business standpoint, because when you go through the motions of like buying the equipment, setting it up, operating it for a period of time, and really calculating the P&Ls and like the incentives of you as a miner, the incentives as you as a speculator when you get your rewards, you as a business that you're getting your cash flows, and estimating like what you need to do to keep up with the current rate of difficulty increases, and what that means for your operations as a miner. Like you really begin to see it's like, oh, like this is just pure raw incentives at play. And that gave me conviction in Bitcoin specifically as like the central nervous system of crypto, essentially. And so to me, like, why do I believe in crypto? It's because I believe in Bitcoin. Um, and then when you extend to the wider altcoin ecosystem, um, you really see a whole world of people and individuals that are trying to take this incentives first perspective that Bitcoin brought to the table with proof of work, and trying to configure it to other modes of value, whether that's like enterprise, whether that's industry, whether that's securitized assets, whether that's other financial services, whether that's memberships. And sure, there's going to be things that don't think, there's going to be things that miss the mark, but there's going to be some real gems in there that really do a great job of getting as close as they can to the same system of interwoven and checked and balanced incentives.
How do you think about like valuing BTC from like a very high time frame perspective? I think one of the interesting things that you always bring up when we talk about this is the dynamics around miners, and I think some of that kind of derives from your experience of being an early Bitcoin miner, as you just talked about. How do you just think about in general valuing BTC, but then more specifically, like kind of two-part question again, tying that into the miner dynamics you touched on a little bit.
Sorry if I may need a little bit of clarification on that. But so the question is like, what do I like? How do I think about Bitcoin valuation? And strictly like just like using the context of the miner background as like a lead into that, pretty much.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm really given my specific background and understanding and the way that I've come to understand Bitcoin, to me it just seems natural that the most the closest that we can get to a fundamental understanding of what drives Bitcoin value is how miners value it and how valuable it is as a money making enterprise for the mining industrial complex to perform the actions of this whole operation that is Bitcoin mining. And so when trying to discern moments of demand or non-demand, moments of undervaluation or overvaluation, I think it's really it behooves people that are trying to find that to like look at the most basic, first principles. I don't hate to use the term, but it's like, it's a little bit overused, but like it really kind of shines through what's important. Fees are extremely important. Block space is extremely important. Why? Because it's a proxy for usage of the network, which is a proxy for fee revenues, which is a proxy for mining industry revenues. And then, things like anything that examines miner revenue flows, on some relative basis to other, valuations like market cap, like realized cap, like, thermo cap, any other variation that is miner centric,
Well,
like,
multiple.
yeah, exactly. Like qual multiple, I think is one of the like soundest, longest lasting uh valuation metrics like out there. It just has done the job very well and described a a clear view for like understanding under and over valuation for sure. So anything in that realm, I definitely go and explore.
Makes sense. How do you think about your broader kind of trading system outside of Bitcoin? Is this something that you've kind of taken from different people in the space and kind of picked up things here and there, or have you kind of just built it on the fly over, your multi-year experience in the space and kind of just found what works for you?
Yeah, for sure. So the cool part about being a non fintech or tradfi person is you get to really come at this space and just trading and investing in general from a no baggage standpoint or backgrounds. And so yeah, I have pretty much learned everything that I use today, like from other people that are just very good at trading and investing and doing what they're doing. These people come from TradFi backgrounds, trader backgrounds, effects backgrounds, Wall Street backgrounds. They're also crypto native backgrounds who are just purely entrepreneurs and they understand, order flow, liquidity, um, all the different components that make up just the most basic elements of a market. Because the cool thing about crypto is, at least in early crypto, and even today you see it, but like primarily in 2013, 2014 through 2016, 2017, you really had uh, this cohort of people that were either Bitcoin maxis turned shitcoiners or just purely new entrepreneurial entrants that just got it from the start. And yeah, I just learn from anyone that I come across. I share as much as I can with them. And, I'm lucky enough to be with people that share what they want with me. And through that collaboration, we both learn. So that's how I've learned. Yeah.
What are some of the biggest mistakes? I know everyone, has made definitely a few over, the few years that they're in the crypto space. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've made personally, and I guess learning lessons that you would recommend to the listeners to kind of apply some of those learning lessons from those mistakes moving forward?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Okay, let's see. um,
Glad I stumped you. That's a rare occasion.
yeah, it's a good stump because it's like it's not for lack of sufficient responses. It's just there's like too many responses, and it's about finding the biggest one that probably hits the most people. I would say one of the biggest mistakes that you could probably make as an investor, as someone who is meeting people in this space, as someone who is incubating your own network in this space, or meeting people just broadly, just like any given individual trade you might take. Um, when you meet any individual person in the space, uh, there's a wide array of outcomes, and as in life, as in trading, in life as in trading, or in trading as in life. I don't know. I'm not very eloquent here right now, but I'll just say, just like you need to just always be able to cut a losing trade or cut a losing relationship, or be able to spot things that go against your initial inclination of what you feel the market should do, or what a business should do, or what a person should do. And if you define your boundaries, as in a trade, you defined your stop loss, your take profit, your other trade parameters. To do the same with yourself in your life, in your networking of people in the space, because the only reason I say that is this is a very new space, and it's fraught with lack of regulation, and being able to manage your own risk and set your own boundaries in that regard is extremely priceless. And yeah, I think you can apply that with people, with projects, with networks, the same way you can apply it with your trades.
That's an awesome one. The next one is, how do you think about kind of combining more, quantifiable data analysis and, some of the things that you mentioned a second ago, in combination with some more, I guess, qualitative aspects. So, example, I guess, would be something like looking at what you think kind of the metagame or narratives that are driving the market are. What do you think about, and also, intuition as well is something that you build up over the time that you're trading. So what do you think about kind of structuring the two of those things? And obviously it's very abstract, and not saying it's X%, quantifiable and X% qualitative, but like, how do you just kind of from a general sense think about combining those two things?
Yeah, it's a real art, isn't it? It's something everyone struggles with. I struggle with it. You struggle with it. I bet Kobe struggles with it. Everyone struggles with it. It's at the end of the day, I think the answer is just personal, and that defines your personal edge. I would say over the last like 2 years, honestly, I've gone from a very technically focused, data centric, on chain focused way of viewing Bitcoin and the crypto markets to more of a like purist, price action trader view, where like I've just drastically reduced the number of on chain metrics that I look at to pretty much the only core things that I think matter, which are fees and minor revenues and qual multiple and maybe a couple other things, but that's really it. And then just going, outside of that, that's my data centric view, getting the numbers to place some sort of market bias or probable market bias. And then after that, it's just going to a purely chartist standpoint. And I think if you do it where it's price action and price structure and pattern focused, I think you're going to have a good time, because I don't really use MAs anymore. I don't use a whole, like I used to, like, dude, okay, 2016, 2017, so many indicators, so many learnings, so many modes of understanding how to trade. Just as a new trader, you want to use everything just to see like, oh, where's the edge here? Like, but then over time I kind of slowly just got back to just pure price action, price structure, TA. I would say the closest style would be, traders like Will Mead, WMD4X, or, Tom Dante, or some of these other just pure price action traders, from 1 hour, pretty much only really using like primarily 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month timeframes, and just like looking at it level by level and things like that. So
Makes sense. Jason, obviously you're a somewhat successful guy in the space. How do you kind of cope with, at some point going through the process of going from a pleb to making it? What is that kind of, mental transition like, and how do you kind of wrap your head around, I think everyone, experiences imposter syndrome to a degree, and I'm assuming that applies to
yeah,
this transition as well. But like, is there, at some point where you're like, holy cow, like, I've made it? And like, if that's the case, like, how do you kind of, cope with that mentally and, kind of normalize that?
yeah, it's a cool question. Um, well, I think the answer for me at least has been just trying to stay normal, just like really just trying to not do anything different, because as you could probably attest, like you're also a successful dude. You got to where you are by and like where you're going by
I am in
just
my parents'
doing.
closet right now, just for the
Well, there
record.
you go. Like you're winning.
Until I
just
move to my
you're
new
winning.
apartment, just for the record.
That's true. That's true. Um, um, but yeah, like I think it's just by like
Sorry, I
just
killed your
staying.
motivational speech.
No, 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 no. You enthralled it, or whatever the right word is. Because we all need these little windows of time between areas of life. Sometimes it's your parents' closet. Sometimes it's your friend's couch. I don't know. um, yeah, man. I mean, honestly, it's just like, success is fleeting. It comes and goes. Money comes and goes. Status comes and goes. I think just staying true to who you are, what you like, what you view in life, and having a sound head on your shoulders, and you know, not thinking you're better than you are or worse than you are. Just finding. I think this is a long-winded version of saying focus on your own like personal growth, personal health. Focus on what makes you happy, and if you find that you're going into these like thoughts or attitudes or frames of minds that like aren't historically just like quintessentially you, then that's a signal to just kind of recheck yourself, rebalance, maybe read a book or two, and enjoy what you've historically enjoyed in life, and keep that going, because this whole space is very volatile, both financially and emotionally. And if you can't keep yourself balanced, there's issues. And that extends to every avenue of anyone's existence, really. So,
How do you also think about dealing with stress? Along the way, as you mentioned, there's a lot of kind of emotional, mental, volatility, in confluence with price. So, what are some of the things, especially running a fund as well, managing other people's money? What are some of the things that you implement in your day to day that kind of help you tone back that stress?
morning walks really help. Morning walks by the beach definitely also help a little bit more. Um, I would say, um, yeah, prior to the pandemic, it was really easy because could just like have the morning, then do some work, then go to the gym, things like that. During the pandemic, that was a bit hard. So pandemic years were a bit stressful. But I think now that life is kind of getting back to, air quotes, normal, can really go back to that pre-pandemic plan. So I've been kind of doing that a bit more. Uh, you know, I'm about to move to a new city, so exploring new things, exploring new local cultures, etc. I would say just have a life outside of crypto, so that your whole life isn't crypto. You
Makes
know,
sense. Yeah. What is your like end goal for being in the space? Is there a certain number or certain qualitative aspect that would make you walk away, or do you think you're just like addicted to the game at this point and you'll be around until you get bored of it?
um, It's a cool question as well. Yeah, um, I've really been a fan ever since 2015, maybe. Yeah, like 2015, so like 7 years. Been a fan of minimalism in life, both with like personal property and with expenses and overhead and things like that. I think the root of that is the desire for to maximize optionality in life. And I think a lot of problems become front and center and inescapable for people when you lack optionality. And constructing your life in such a way that allows you to achieve and maintain and even grow that, high level of optionality, that allows you to have this view, to your question of I'm good, like at any certain level of wealth, you're just you're still good, you know. There's no number that will make you do anything. As long as you have your optionality, you're good. So like, is there a number? No. Is there a feeling? Maybe. Is there a personal is there a personal frame of mind that, given a certain market and industry context, would entice me to like take a break? Yeah, of course, just like anyone. Uh, but in the end, at the end of the day, the thing that's really gripping to me about crypto is the the potential and the actual reality that this technology and this new way of thinking and organizing people around communication, around value, will supplant pre-existing legacy institutions, models, technologies, etc. And so to me, crypto specifically is always going to be, at least for the next maybe 10, 20 years, hopefully, this area where you can have some idea that addresses those things, human power relations, economic models, whatever. And if you have a relevant, good idea, then you can make a difference, create value for you and other people, and it's worthwhile. So I would say like I would be hard pressed to find something or be in a situation where crypto itself becomes, you know, uninteresting and dull. I could be wrong, but I hope I'm not.
Yeah. Then you're gonna be back in your parents' closet too, maybe. Um,
Oh man,
well, maybe at this point you kind of be on the escape velocity of ever going back there. But
it's okay. I got two cats I can bring back there, and my parents, especially my mom, will love them.
there you go.
Yeah,
Last question. I know we're running pretty short on time here. The last one is
no worries.
what is your goal in life beyond crypto?
Goal in life beyond crypto.
Maybe you don't have some crazy like philosophical like effective altruism belief. So, if that's not the case, but maybe it's just like, hey, I want to, relax on the beach and just like take it easy for the majority of my life, like whatever that may be. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular.
Reach for the stars there, eh? No, I'm just kidding. um, yeah, man. I don't know. Other than be happy, I guess I don't know. Let me think about this for a second. I don't know, man. Like I'm in my 30s and I've gone through the whole like initial introduction of what this world is, through my 20s and first part of my 30s. So it's like when you first get into the world, you have these like aspirations for something larger, and by all means, like go for those, and go for those for as long as you want in life. I'm not particularly sure I'm that type of person. The only thing that I do know is that the way that my family raised me and the way that my dad raised me was, you do the right thing, you do what's right, and you keep to yourself. You don't bother other people, um, and just live your life in a way that makes you happy and that doesn't bother other people. Outside of that, I don't really have like any like aspirational goals outside of having a family, being a good parent, being a good partner, being a good trader, or hopefully not like, you know, uh, losing too much money or, whatever, just, taking it easy. And honestly, like, I would say, like, if I had to have one goal that I say is like a goal, or really it's just like an inclination, like I like helping people, I like finding what other people, blanketly, I think people are beautiful. I think people, while being a mixed bag and, could go either way, I, for the most part, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. And so my natural inclination is to see what other people like to do, what they're doing, what they're passionate about, and find a way to help. That's how I've, learned from other people. That's how I've met other people. That's how I've found interests for myself personally in other people's passions. Um, and that's why I love crypto, is because you meet so many people doing so many cool things, and you get introduced to these ways of thinking and these groups of people, these life modalities that you wouldn't have discovered otherwise if you weren't open to meeting these people and embracing who they are and getting them to open up about it. I just, that's what I would say, that's really like my MO, or how I look at life. And as long as I can like appreciate and value and help other people that are passionate about what they're doing and doing cool things, um, that are like net positive enterprises or what have you, then I'm happy and I'm fulfilled, as long as I get to do my own personal things and, achieve my own personal goals that I've kind of briefly outlined. So, like, I'm happy. Um, yeah, I would say that's probably
No,
the closest
that was
answer.
pretty solid. That was very
Yeah.
genuine, but it was pretty inspirational too. Um,
Yeah.
you know, Jason, this has been incredible, and this has definitely been one of the deeper episodes I would say that we've done.
Nice.
So before we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to leave listeners with? Anything you'd like people to go check out? Anywhere to go find you? Your Twitter, whatever you want to link. I guess kind of final thoughts, comments, feelings.
Yeah, for sure. I'm recently involved with this project called Single Trade Funds Exchange, STFX for short. You can look at the Twitter at STFX_IO. Founder is Murad Makhmudov, and his whole merry band of super talented crypto friends. Um, I would say, at a high level, trying to make that a really cool tool for, skilled traders, both discovered and undiscovered, to coordinate community alpha, in whatever capacity that means, whether it's a single trade, whether it's an options directional trade, whether it's some NFT trade. So check that out. It's a really good group of guys, really good project, and it's going to be a summer full of events, and public sale will be at some point in the next quarter. So keep a lookout. What else? Anything I would like to just kind of broadly leave listeners with at a high level? I would say, don't take life too seriously unless you have to. And then, even when you're having a hard time, don't take it too seriously. Look at it as a game, because that's how most, I don't know, most, it seems like most successful people that are really good at what they're doing look at life as a game. There are rules and there are guidelines, and there are, certain things you can do in life. And as long as you don't take it too seriously, you can play the game optimally and to the best effect that you can, play the game. So yeah, I would say
And
just make life
and
fun.
what's your Twitter, Jason? Just so people can come find you on there.
Sure. Twitter.com/Jason from TG, all one word.
Dope. All right. Thanks a lot, Jason. We appreciate you coming on. This was a blast.
Yeah, thanks. Well, thanks for inviting me. Great host, lots of cool questions.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Cheers, man.